right, so here's some disturbing news. In the last couple of years, 4 dozen high-tech computing devices at NASA have, well, gone missing. They've been lost or stolen or something. This was revealed in congressional testimony this week by NASA's Inspector General. Now, among the items that have disappeared, a laptop that contained the code needed to command the International Space Station. Very interesting. Well, funding for NASA has, of course, been cut back in recent years, but NASA still spends around $1.5 billion every year on IT-related activities, and that includes about $58 million on security. So I want to talk about this, and to help me do that, I'll bring in our cyber expert-in-chief, Andrew Blake, who's also part of our web team here at RT. He's got a bit more of a grasp about all this than I do. All right, no biggie though. I mean, this is NASA, so of course, I would imagine that most of the information on the computer, sensitive stuff at least, would be encrypted, right?
I mean, that would make sense, because they send things into space that they would want to protect these things. But so what happened this week was Inspector General testified before Congress and said, you know, there's a couple different problems with NASA right now, and they were very big problems. Not only did he say that there was a slow pace at encrypting these files, but he just admitted downright that NASA is incredibly vulnerable to cyber attacks. Not only are they incredibly vulnerable to cyber attacks, but he admits that they are constantly bombarded with cyber attacks. And there's been, in the last few years, over 5,000 instances where malware or unauthorized access has somehow corrupted their files. And they're aware, and they say that, oh, well, we've been trying, but they still manage to give away the code that controls this $80 billion thing that flies around the world. And not even just the world. It's very, the International Space Station is kind of an important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know just yesterday, the FBI Director, Robert Mueller, was speaking to a group of sort of cybersecurity experts, and he warned that cyber attacks in the next few years will actually replace terrorism as the most serious threat facing the U.S. So if that's the case, why isn't NASA more fully protected, and what do you think he's trying to get out there here?
The NASA testimony and Mueller's comment could not have come at a worse time, because coincidentally, former head of the CIA also this week said it wasn't really that good. You know about the Stuxnet worm, the fellow that corrupted the Iranian nuclear program a few years ago. He was the former head of the CIA, said, you know, that was a good idea. That worked. That was great. So we have the CIA saying, hey, going after the programs of other governments, that'll work. And we have the FBI saying that this is an actual threat. And then we have the NASA saying, hey, this is happening, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Right, and back to what you were saying. I mean, I was reading up on this a little bit, and you were saying, like, our computers, our system actually gets hacked. I think I found 5,400 computers have essentially been hacked. I know that he said security incidents occurred that resulted in the installation of malicious software on these computers or unauthorized access into its systems. I mean, what could happen with this?
Well, you know, just a hacker could control the International Space Station, essentially. Or I don't know, NASA has a bunch of rockets, I think, and other sorts of cool stuff. So it's not something you want to just put in the hands of anyone. And it's different than like what we've been seeing with Anonymous, where they do lots of like doxing and DDoS attacks, where they'll take down a website, they'll cripple a government website, or they'll go in and they'll go to like a local small-time or even big-time law enforcement agency and publish a bunch of emails.
Right.
It's not
in the case of Stratford.
Yeah, it's not just correspondence, and it's not just home addresses. It's codes for the International Space Station, and it's not even that they're not encrypting it. NASA admitted to Congress, the Inspector General, that they kind of just have been making mistakes. They actually discovered that over the last few years, there were at least 10 instances where NASA went to go take their old computers and sell them off to the public, but kind of just forgot to erase the hard drives.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I mean, this seems like the opposite of rocket science,
Yeah.
to make a horrible joke. But this seems like, even when elementary schools have drives for computers, they make sure that this doesn't happen. I mean, and with what we know about cyber attacks, I've been to a few conferences here in D.C. where it really is made the biggest deal of that every organization, whether it's a news organization or a government organization, needs to be worried about cyber attacks. I mean, is NASA embarrassed about this?
They absolutely should be. And IT security is such a huge business in America and internationally that there's no reason for this to be happening. And not to mention they spend $58 million
on security alone.
On security out of $1.5 billion on IT together. So it's not good.
What comes out of this, Andrew? I mean, are they going to? Is NASA going to get smarter? Are people going to learn a lesson from this, or?
No, absolutely not. They said that they've done audits for the last several years and they regularly find mistakes. And we try to fix them, but I don't know. The smart guys are just getting smarter, and NASA's losing a bunch of codes.
Have they said anything? I didn't see in terms of this laptop that was missing that had the information for the International Space Station. I mean, have they gotten it back, or it's still out there somewhere?
They haven't actually gone into that, but they also said that there's a good number of things that they actually can't even try to keep track of, because when mobile computing devices are loaned out to employees, the employees are responsible for keeping track of them. And if an employee misplaces something out of a system of thousands of computers, they don't necessarily have to report that something happened to them. So there's only 48 laptops missing that they're aware of. But yeah, it's only International Space Station.
Yeah, and I think I read that they weren't even sure exactly what information was on those computers. An interesting story. I think it's an important one to get out there to show that even NASA is vulnerable. And what does this mean? RT web writer Andrew Blake, interesting stuff. Thanks so much.
Thank you.